Queensland's Gold Coast is a place where youth and beauty are for sale. The latest dream for sale on the Gold Coast is the promise of stem cells. And no one does the big sell on stem cells quite like a company called Asgrow, which claims it can successfully treat almost any ailment.
Such as MS, autoimmune arthritis, joint pain, hepatitis, leukemia, thymus cancer, male and female infertility, and erectile dysfunction. It's what we do.
Asgrow is the brainchild of this man. Christened Michael Farrelly, he now calls himself Mikhail Wolf, self-described serial entrepreneur. Throw me to the wolves, he says on his Facebook page, and I will return leading the pack.
He's a complete fraudster. He's got no morals. He preys on people that are vulnerable.
Melbourne patient Joe Rocker admits he was sucked in last year by one of Mikhail Wolf's stem cell companies, promising to treat an autoimmune skin disorder.
They said, we can help you with your autoimmune disorders, and we've helped clients with HIV, and we've helped clients with cancer.
He paid a $500 deposit before realising something was fishy.
I was ringing back and I wasn't getting the same person. I realised it was a call centre. I thought, this is a call centre. This is not a clinic. I was supposed to angry at myself because I thought, oh, you know, you've just been scammed.
When he threatened to go to the authorities, the $500 was eventually refunded. Joe Rocker is not the only disgruntled patient. Stem Cells Australia, the peak scientific body for stem cell research, led by the University of Melbourne's Professor Martin Pera, has complained to the Queensland Health Ombudsman about Mr Wolf and Asgrow, saying they were engaging in unethical and exploitative practices of a particularly egregious nature, which required immediate attention from the appropriate authorities.
The real concern is that patients are being put at risk. They're being charged exorbitant sums of money for treatments where there's absolutely no evidence of efficacy and that really have real potential to do harm.
Stem Cells Australia has had a number of complaints about Mikhail Wolf's companies, including that he deals with customers under an alias. One Queensland patient with severe musculoskeletal pain says Mr Wolf was pushing an expensive stem cell therapy and he was using the name Patrick Collymore. Emails from Patrick Collymore said the minimum immediate deposit required was $20,000, but the full $44,000 was preferable.
I do not like putting pressure on you, but I'm getting pressure from the group in Taiwan regarding the payment, so if you could pay the full amount tonight, that would be fantastic.
The first big flag for me was there was sort of no evidence base for the treatment, and yet the cost was claimed to be in the order of $100,000, but only available for a short period of time at a heavily discounted price of $44,000.
But when Collymore invited the patient to these premises in a Brisbane business park, the receptionist had never heard of Patrick Collymore. Out instead popped Mikhail Wolf. When the client came here, he was looking for someone called Patrick Collymore. Who's Patrick Collymore?
Patrick is Mikhail.
Mikhail Wolf doesn't treat patients himself. He's an agent for companies like Eric Hughes, which perform the stem cell procedure. Why does he call himself Patrick Collymore?
I think it's a common practice within this industry or men's health industry to be using an alias for their name.
Why would they use an alias?
Not very sure, yeah.
Eric Hu's company, ASCT, services a largely Chinese clientele who fly in for treatment. His company is part of an industry that remains largely unregulated by the Therapeutic Goods Administration because of a loophole for therapies using patients' own stem cells.
There's no oversight. There's no ethics committees. There's no governance board. There's no one looking over the practice as far as I can see.
The patient had questioned Asgrow, but Mikhail Wolf's pressure tactics continued.
This has become tiresome. I'm trying to help you. I gave you a solution on a silver platter. This treatment is not available to people who don't put their health before finances. I'm sorry.
I mean, it goes beyond coercion. It seems like almost bullying the patient into taking up an expensive, unproven treatment with unknown consequences. It just seems outrageous.
Eric Hu says Mikhail Wolf brought a number of patients to him last year. He says his company only promises rejuvenation, but acknowledges that Mikhail Wolf was promising much more.
So it can't do anything for leukaemia?
No.
Mr Hu insists his procedure is safe and says he has many repeat clients. He told 7:30 that unlike Mikhail Wolf, he doesn't recommend it for illnesses like multiple sclerosis.
So do you think you'll still be working with him?
I got to sort it out, definitely. Got to have a long discussion, yeah. Because if he's operating in this field like this, then it's definitely not acceptable, yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Belich. I'm the senior doctor for IMC.
Dr Mike Belich is another stem cell practitioner who has seen patients stung by Mikhail Wolf.
He's marketing things that are crazy, so hopefully he can be stopped.
Dr Belich had 3 Australian patients referred to him by Mikhail Wolf for ASC treatment earlier this year. He says he declined to perform the procedure.
They had conditions that stem cells wouldn't help. You've got to be very judicious with stem cells. You know, stem cells can't magically help every disease. I'll provide patients.
Dr Belich showed 7:30 a series of text messages where he asked Mikhail Wolf to refund the patient's money, which Mr Wolf had required up front, even though they hadn't been treated. The text messages show the patients were complaining to police and threatening to go to the medical board. Mr Wolf became increasingly agitated with the doctor.
I have not done anything untoward at all. You are simply a hater.
Yeah, you called me a hater for trying to get the client's money back.
We decided to go to the Gold Coast to try to find Mikhail Wolf at his waterfront mansion. This company search shows that as of a week ago, Michael Farrelly / Mikhail Wolf was living here at this Gold Coast property. But we've just gone in and spoken to the new tenants who say he actually left very suddenly a month ago. And we're not the first people to turn up. There have also been armed police and standover men. Mikhail Wolf's trouble is with more than medical authorities. In March, police raided his Clear Island Waters property. He was charged with 3 counts of possessing dangerous drugs, including 17 grams of ice. We finally found him this week, reporting for bail at Broadbeach Police Station.
Mr Wolf. Hi.
At the police station? That's classy.
Well, that's where you are. Louise and Lydia
Yeah.
from the ABC 7:30 program.
Yeah, how you going?
Good. Just wondering if you're aware that your company, Ascro, has been referred to the Queensland Health Ombudsman for
No, I'm not actually.
misleading and deceptive practices.
No, you'll have to talk to my
unethical
lawyer about that
behaviour,
because
completely
you'll have to talk to my
egregious
lawyer.
conduct.
You'll have to talk to my lawyer about that.
Your lawyer,
Yeah.
okay. And Mr Wolf, are you aware that your patients are making complaints about you?
Stem Cells Australia is pursuing complaints about Mikhail Wolf and his companies with the consumer watchdog, medical regulator AHPRA and the Therapeutic Goods Administration. The TGA is conducting a broad inquiry into whether the stem cell industry should be overhauled. It's hoped that will close the loophole, which means autologous or patients' own stem cell therapies are unregulated.
We're going to argue very strongly that these autologous treatments should come under the exact same regulations as any other type of cell therapy. We're seeing the consequences in this case and many other cases, and they're bad consequences.